Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting conversation of change by Climate Asia. Today, we have Ajay Nagpure, who has 19 plus years of experience in urban sustainability, air quality management, greenhouse gases, inventory development, climate change, and infrastructure analysis. He is currently a senior scientist at Princeton University, leading innovative research on micro-level infrastructure activities and their environmental impacts. He holds a PhD in modeling of urban traffic emissions from the Indian Institute of Technology, as well as a master's in science in environmental biology. A very warm welcome, Ajay, to you, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much for your time.
We'll jump right into the questions. With such an impressive background, we're eager to learn more about your research experience and the sustainability solutions you've been driving. To start things off, can you share what sparked your passion for sustainability and how your journey has led you to your current position?
So I started my, 19 years back, I think, Wildlife Institute of India. And I belong to, the rural environment, and I know that our rural, I would say it's currently it's not actually rural, but our rural areas are mostly more sustainable than the urban areas, and I belong to those areas. And soon after I joined my PhD, then I realized that in India, where we are somehow trying to that focus on Western models and are not able to capture like what we have already. So that's why the first thought I had, like, can't we develop some kind of strategies or technologies or like innovation methods, so where we can adopt the current available knowledge and whatever the that existing infrastructure we have, instead of following the that Western model. So that was the first thought I had. And looking, I think following that thought, then I realized that now we need to develop such kind of strategies and trying to convince, that our counterparts and other people who are working in the same field, and also the people who are not working in the same field, they are aware about such things, but in a different ways. So that's how I thought, like, India needs this kind of innovative, or I would say already available, I think, but we need to rediscover it. So that's what I think those are the thoughts I had when I started my career in this environmental field. And now what I'm doing, I'm just trying to just work in a way for like a country like India or any other developing nations across the world. So considering their background, considering their infrastructure, economic and socio-economic backgrounds, and trying to develop innovative or rediscover the approach where we can adopt the sustainable development and get the that like some kind of that positive outcome. So that's what those are the thoughts derived me to just work on these sectors.
Very interesting. So your work's been focusing on understanding the complexities of air pollution, analyzing infrastructure footprints, and formulating policy recommendations. Could you tell us about the most significant findings from your research on high-resolution air pollution and the greenhouse gas emission inventories?
So based on my recently, we have published one paper, and this paper is it's with Professor Anu Ramaswamy from Princeton University, and with her we try to understand the contribution of different socioeconomic segment in a Delhi, Rajkot, and Coimbatore. And when I say socioeconomic segment, the population fractals belong to different socioeconomic group. That poor people, middle class, rich people, richest people. And what we found that is very interesting is that, that out of the total population, the majority of the air pollution and GHG contributed by the top 20% of the population in our cities. That is, that is very important. And why it is important? Because then we need to focus that particular segment. If we are trying to just develop some kind of a strategies where for the air pollution or GHG mitigation, that's the one thing. And the important thing, another important thing which we found is that, like, the low income households are only contributing for the, like poor infrastructure, because of poor infrastructure, because they don't have the clean cooking fuel, and or they don't have a proper waste collection efficiency. Those are the things that are contributing to the higher emissions of air pollution and GHG emissions from the low income households. But if we consider the overall contribution, we found that the rich people are almost equal to the either commercial or industrial sector in this city. So this is the one study we recently published. Another interesting thing which I would like to talk about like that. So that in India, we are focusing on mostly on the transportation sector. That is a very important sector. But in transportation sector, we are only focusing on the exhaust emissions. So I did publish a paper in 2012, and in that paper, what we found that the share of exhaust emission is decreasing because of the new technology intervention and something like other interventions. But the contribution of the non-exhaust emission, especially road dust, is continuously increasing. And if you see the most of the the studies across the nation, so you will find that nowadays the construction dust and road dust become the one of the leading source of air pollution. So these are the two papers I feel that it's very interesting. Yeah.
No, I agree. That's very interesting findings. So these two major findings that you've written about, how do they contribute to your understanding on the impact of urban activities on climate change, and what policy recommendations have emerged out of this?
Yes. So when we say that, like, that these are some example of my research, and other than that, like, that because in India or anywhere in the world, we need to work on the policy development and as well as their implementation on the ground. So, for example, right, I think before my current position, I was working with World Resource Institute of India, where that we have consulted the different stakeholders. That this is the first talk which I talked about, like the contribution of these sectors for the air pollution and GHG emission. This is the first part. But after that, when we are trying to develop a policies, I think in India, the most important thing is that, like, first to talk to the stakeholders. And when I say they talk to the stakeholders, don't go with your problem. Generally what happened in India, like for example, I'm working in air pollution. So when I go to the stakeholders, I generally go with, like, that just considering air pollution in my mind and talking in that context. If you are talking in this way, you are not going to get the efficient policy formulation. That each stakeholders who are working in these sectors are having their own problems, and their first priority would be to solve their own problem. So that's the thing we all need to understand. So when I say that we first identify the contribution of the sectors, whether it's a transportation, waste burning, construction, industry, or some other sources. So then what we did first, we just we went to these stakeholders and first asked about their problems. And then after we discuss our problem, and by this mutual discussion, we have developed some kind of strategies. And those strategies are very efficient. And we have one very, that positive, or I would say impactful example. So when I was working in World Resource of India, so we have this, like, we found that the construction industry is one of the leading source of air pollution in India. So we talked to them and we asked about their problem. And with the mutual discussion, we have developed India's first clean construction guideline. And that is only not the output. After that, the construction people has provided us a building or their ongoing project to demonstrate all these practically possible practices on the ground. And I would say this is the one, I think one of the, I think the important output from my research in terms of the policy implementation, policy formulation as well as the implementation. Another thing is like we also discussed with the industry people, industry is, I would say, one of the difficult sector in India when it's whether it's related to air pollution or GHG because of their various reasons, financial reason, corruption, or the political reason. But by considering this hurdles, we can't stop working for the industry. So what we did, we discussed with the industry people. We tried to do a monitoring, or I would say like the detailed analysis of their sectors, and we try to understand different technologies they are using. And after that, we came because they always want to save money. So after that kind of analysis, we did literature review or the review of the different technology across the world in terms of their cost, in terms of their environmental impact. And we have suggested those kind of intervention to the industries. So this is how we are working right now. And I think from past 10 years, I'm working on the policy formulation and implementation. So this kind of strategies we are adopting. Yeah.
That's a very interesting approach to actually ask the stakeholders. Thank you for sharing that. During your tenure as Director and Head of Air Quality at WRI, you led impactful research projects and successfully developed India's first clean construction practice guidelines, which you spoke about. Could you elaborate on the scientific approach you used for this research? And additionally, have you observed any measurable positive impacts on air quality as a result of this?
Yes. So, that if you are working on sectors like greenhouse gas emissions, climate change, or air pollution, we cannot work without the scientific, that background. So, the first and most important thing is that understand these sectors first, I think, with scientific approach. And we did the same approach for, like we were developing a clean action plan for a Surat city. So what we did first, we just first try to understand the contribution of these sectors for these greenhouse gas or air pollution or other kind of environmental, uh, impacts. So for that, that there are different ways, because generally what we are doing, we have some rules of thumb method for different sectors. And as I said earlier, like we try to follow the Western models. So I think when we were doing this kind of analysis or the scientific analysis of the sectors, we developed some kind of innovative approach also. Because we can't follow the simple like other approach, other Western models, and we have some constraints. So, for example, waste burning assessment, there was no scientific approach were available in terms of analysis and the assessment of their contribution and how much waste burning happening in the city at the intra-city level. So we did a method. Similarly, for the construction, we tried to utilize the currently available survey and census and some consultation with the builders, and we try to develop innovative methods. So by innovative methods, source of personal study, and the emission inventory, we were able to first analyze the contribution of all these sectors for the air pollution. After the understanding the sectors, then we went to the stakeholders. Like as I said earlier, for construction people, we went to the construction people and then asked for their problems. And we said like it was a very good discussion. And we also that discuss about the construction ban in Delhi, because most of the time in winter time at Delhi, in Delhi, I think the construction activities have been banned because of this emergency action plan. We also discussed this thing with them. And after this kind of discussion, they said like, oh, I think this is a very important sector. And they said, when we are submitting the tenders, so there is no, information or very little information about the air pollution. Can we develop some kind of guideline where we can understand the sectors properly? So the first time in India, with the sectoral people, that they because construction is considered to be a very difficult sector. So with this construction people, we develop a clean construction guideline. And then after that, we had another discussion, and we said, oh, we say that because when we are talking about this theoretical, that approach, people generally don't take it so seriously. So then we requested them, could you please provide us some site where we can implement and show it to your partners that this is doable and it is not requiring a lot of money. So then we did that, and what we found, like about after the intervention or after the implementation of these that approach, we were able to reduce 80 to 90% on-site air pollution emission. That is a remarkable outcome. The paper is under review, and hopefully the paper will publish soon, and people can see that how it is possible in the situation like in a city like Surat or other cities of developing nations. So I would say this is the one of the important outcome, policy outcome or implementation outcome we had from in my previous work.
Sounds very interesting. So your research has encompassed various aspects of environmental sustainability, including waste management. In particular, you conducted extensive research on estimating waste burning at a neighborhood scale. Have these monitoring techniques proven to be effective in reducing waste burning and promoting cleaner practices on the ground? And also considering your expertise in this field, what role do you see technology playing in enhancing waste management and curbing air pollution?
Yes. So that when we are, because generally the waste management data, when the waste management data comes, like that people say that this city is having 70% efficiency or 80% or 90%. That is the overall city's scope. But that is when we go to the ground, we have intra-city level variation. Some neighborhoods are having very high collection efficiency, mostly the rich neighborhoods. But and some neighborhoods are having poor waste collection efficiency, like a poor neighborhoods. So looking this, and generally, I think, and most of the that waste management people, especially the people who decide, who are the decision makers, they live in the areas where the waste collection efficiency is high. And most of the time we have our own bias, and we see that we think that every neighborhood is like my neighborhood, and that is not true. So looking, and also I think it is always important to understand how waste collection happens in the city and how it varies. And there was no methods available to assess this, because it's very difficult to assess the accumulated waste on the, and that in any area, because how can we quantify it? No. So for that, I think we develop a method. So in the first method, what we did, we use a 3D technology. So what is 3D technology? Because the waste piles is on the street and road, and it's very hard to assess their composition or quantity. So I use the 3D technology, and 3D technology, and the transit method. So we were doing? We are just walking on the street and counting the number of the accumulated waste on the streets at different neighborhoods. And by 3D technology, we are mapping it, that what is the size and volume. And by considering the volume and mass ratio, we were able to quantify the waste accumulation on the street. at the intra-city level. And we did this in Delhi, and what we found, like in Delhi has different neighborhoods, and what we found, like what we did is studied in Brajpuri, New Mustafabad in Delhi, and Janpura and the subdivision enclave. And what we found that Janpura and subdivision enclave are having a 99% waste collection efficiency, but in the area like Brajpuri, the waste collection efficiency is only 65%. That is the first thing. Another important thing and is that, like, that if you have the higher waste accumulation on the street, there would be high waste burning. So generally what happens, so that if we see most of the studies currently available, what they are doing that, that to estimate the contribution of the waste burning for air pollution, they simply goes to the waste management of the city. Like, for example, if cities provide like how much waste collection city has. So, for example, it is 70% or 80%. So they can't consider that remaining 20% waste is being burned by the people. But that is not true. So, looking this thing, and also there were no methods, even with like, that at the international level or national level. So we did develop this the transit method, the distance sampling approach. We applied this distance sampling approach. We selected neighborhoods with the different socioeconomic background, and we try to assess, that like how much waste burning happens in the different neighborhoods. And the results were very interesting. For example, in Delhi, about 3% of the waste being burned every day when we did this study in 2015. But in the Agra, it was 25%. And that we had I think because, and with this method, we did publish a paper about the Agra, Taj Mahal, where because waste burning and this cow dung burning is contributing to air pollution. So then after that introducing this method, now cities are adopting this method to assess their waste collection efficiency and the waste burning at the neighborhood scale across the globe. I think nowadays my method is used in Africa, in Nepal, and India. So it is like it's I think it proved that like this method is I think it's important for the waste management as well as the air quality management.
No, absolutely. Very interesting. Um, you mentioned that the waste collection differentiates in the socioeconomic backgrounds, but is it also on how much interest the states take? Like, say, for example, I'm in Bombay and I know there's, the waste collection is not as efficient as it would be, say, in certain areas in Bangalore. So does it also differentiate state-wise on the priority?
I think that our method is mostly for the intra neighborhood level, intra city scale, and when we have the city scale data, then we can compare it with the other cities data. Yes, of course, that like as you said, like your neighborhood in Delhi, Mumbai, or others neighborhood in Bangalore. That is, I think we did the similar kind of thing. For example, in Agra, we conducted this survey in 7 to 8 neighborhoods, and in Delhi, we conducted this in 3 neighborhoods. And what we found, like for example, most of the neighborhoods in Agra is almost similar to the Brajpuri of Delhi. The Brajpuri is a low-income area. So yes, this method can be able to provide you the that assessment at the neighborhood level and comparable that can be comparable.
What strategies do you believe are essential for fostering greater awareness and action on climate change, especially in areas like air pollution management? And can we bridge the gap between understanding the severity of climate-related disasters and taking meaningful action, both on an individual level and a societal level?
Yes, I think that first, when we are talking about the climate change or air pollution, we need to understand our our background first. When I say the background, the financial capacity, awareness, education, and the priorities. You might remember there was a one survey in 2018 about the voters survey. So in the voters survey, what we found that the study found that the air pollution and the climate change is the 18th, 17th priorities in India across the urban and rural voters. And urban area is the sixth priority. The top when they compare the priorities in terms of the, that if to vote the political leaders. So we need to understand this first, that people are having different priorities. But this is not only the, the thing like we can stop working on the sectors. If we consider the smoking or some other, that health risk, people are aware about it. So I think we need to develop our strategies in a way so that we can make people aware about these kind of things. Right now, this whether it's air pollution or GHG, I would say it's kind of elite discussion. That people belongs to the high socioeconomic status, or they are doing research. They discuss air pollution and climate change. But when you go to the low-income households, they are not aware about the air pollution. So first we need to understand that, and we have to develop a strategies like how to communicate these things properly. That is the most important. And I feel that awareness campaigns, that generally right now, the most of the funding or, that work is focused on the contribution of for the different sectors for the air pollution. But there is a very related work going on for the awareness among the low income household about the air pollution. For example, just like a polio, or that a TB or other kind of causes, we had this kind of awareness program. So we have to develop this kind of strategy. That is the first thing. Another important thing that we have to stop just completely following a model like China or Western countries. Why? Because we have different, that setup. We have different, our country has a different profile. For example, when generally what happened, we compare India with the China. Because China, the most of the emissions are coming from the industry. The one point, the single point source, industry, that it where we can easily manage the air pollution or carbon emissions. Also, the China financial capacity is very high as compared to our current situation in India. So, and India, we have diverse sources like a waste burning, crop burning, and household cooking, so many other things. And these are dispersed sources. So it's very hard, and it requires a lot of interventions, money also. So I think we have to first approach these sectors according to our situation. And I would say, like, now that we have to develop a proper communication strategies, proper awareness strategies, that people at least get aware about the air pollution. And when we are talking about the air pollution mitigation strategy, climate strategy, we need to develop according to our situation. Though I think these are the conclusion points I have.
No, I totally agree in terms of creating awareness. That might be the best way forward, considering the situation we're in. So what message do you have for individuals interested in this sector, and what steps would you recommend for somebody to gain the necessary skills and expertise who want to get into this space?
I think, that first, we need to understand that our environment is the most important thing, and somehow if we are not having clean environment, we are going to have a lot of, that health risks, and not only in terms of the physical health risk, but also as well as the mental health risk. And if we care about our family, if we care about like our children's, our old age people, we need to learn about the environment. It's not only like you are just you need to learn, I think, get a skill in a certain course or something like that. But as a common people, we need to understand that environment is very important right now. That air pollution, climate change, extreme heat, I think in recently North India has faced all these hazards, that whether it's air pollution or extreme heat or extreme flood, all these are because of the climate change or the environmental degradation. So first thing we need to understand that. And right now, because with information technologies and a lot of that interactive platforms, now we have resources available where we can learn about these things. And also the compared to the last, I think 10 years before, right now we have more professional where they and organizations which are providing awareness campaigns. So these are the things which we have to consider, and people who are interested, I think definitely they can, they volunteer, or they can, if they are very much interested, they can definitely try to just learn through some academic courses or something like that. So that's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Ajay, for your time today and for your very insightful and interesting research that you shared with us. We wish you the very best for all your future research endeavors from Climate Asia. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time, Vishna.